Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Vanessa, this is Nessa CX Beauty, and today I'm going to be sharing my entire foundation collection with y'all, also sharing my top 6 foundations at the moment, and doing a little declutter for y'all because I do want to get rid of a few of these foundations. As a point of reference, I am a dry skin gal, so all of my opinions will be from a person with dry skin. So if I do mention a product that you love that I don't love so much, just know makeup works differently on everybody and I do not mean to offend. So if you are interested in seeing that, just continue watching. Alright, so the first foundation I did do a wear test on, and my wear test playlist will be down below as well as linked up in the cards if y'all do want to see any of these foundations that I mentioned reviewed. But this is the Milani Scream Queen foundation, and I actually really like this foundation. If you know me, I am a fan of full coverage foundation, but this is one of the less coverage foundations that I do let slide in my collection because it is so beautiful on the face and it does last forever. So if you are into medium coverage and you are a dry skin person, this one might be the best bet for you. I keep it in my collection because I use it on days where I don't have like important things to do and I do want to put on foundation. So this one's a good one in my books. I do wear the shade 340 and it is a pretty good match. The next foundation is a tried and true. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. I wear the shade 105. She is full coverage. She is matte and she is beautiful. I am a dry skin girl, but for some reason matte foundations perform beautifully on my skin, and this is one that I continuously purchase and love. It's died down in hype, but it's a good one, and it's full coverage and it lasts forever, so always a good one in my books, but not my favorite. The next foundation is the Revolution Conceal and Define foundation. This is the component. She is not a pump foundation. It's like a concealer-ish foundation. I wear the shade 10.5. She is matte. She is not one of my favorite foundations, not gonna lie, but I don't dislike it enough to get rid of it. I do want to finish it up and I do put it on sometimes just to, you know, go through it a little bit more. But this one, a lot of people do love it. It's just not my favorite, and it's not a bad foundation either, so it's gonna stay in my collection. The next foundation is the Beauty Creation Flawless Stay foundation. This is the component. I have the shade FS 5.0, and this foundation is actually pretty good. It's reminiscent to one of my favorite foundations, but it's more expensive, and it's not a bad foundation at all. It wears great, it's full coverage, and I can't say any bad things about it, so don't worry y'all. I have my declutter foundations in a pile in itself, so we will get to them eventually. But the next foundation I do have on today, this is the Covergirl True Blend Matte Made. This is the shade T10. It is a little dark for me. I do have it mixed in with a foundation that is a little bit too light for me, which is why it matches me perfectly right now. But this foundation is a pretty dope foundation as well. It's full coverage on me, and it basically looks freaking stunning. The only reason I have it mixed in with another foundation is because it is a little bit too dark, T10, but it's not bad. I can mix it with something and it still looks freaking beautiful, so great foundation. The next foundation is also a tried and true that I keep in my collection forever. Like if I ever run out of it, I do go out and repurchase it again. It's the Wet n Wild foundation in Desert Beige. She's a great one. She's full coverage but also lightweight. I am not the biggest fan of like very liquidy foundations, but this one gets a slide for me because it performs beautifully. It smells bad, don't get me wrong, it smells bad, but it's a good foundation and it's inexpensive, so if you are, you know, on a budget, this one would be good for you. The next foundation is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation, and I do have the shade 3.25N, and this is the other foundation I have mixed in with my Covergirl foundation today because it is a little bit too light for me. I wish I would have returned this and exchanged it for a darker foundation because I do like this on its own, but I tend to mix it in with darker foundations whenever I do want to use it, and it is a good one. It's not fully matte, it's like a natural finish on my skin, but it's long wear, stunning, gorgeous on the face. I don't think that if you have too many like discoloration or hyperpigmentation, I don't know if this would be able to cover it on its own because like I said, I have it mixed in. When this is by itself, I do have to go in with more concealer, so that is something to note about this foundation. And y'all, I hate the component. I gotta say that. I hate the component. I like the foundation. That's it. The next foundation is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. This one always stays in my collection. When I run out, I go out and I immediately buy another one because I do always run out of this foundation. But I use the shade Tawny, and I bought this little pump from MAC because it fits onto the bottle perfectly, and I do like a pump foundation instead of like a spill foundation. And this one, everybody loves it. Some people hate it, but it's a staple in many people's collections, and it's for a good reason. Great wear, great coverage, can't say anything bad, except you can go a little overboard when you do put this foundation on, so keep that in mind all the time. The next foundation is a foundation that I've only used once, so I do want to keep this in my collection. I do have a wear test on it. It's the Skinsurance foundation by Jcat Beauty, and I got it in the shade Buff. This is one of the foundations that are too light for me, and I think that that is why I've only used it once. But I think that I will start mixing this in with foundations that are too dark for me as well. But I remember not loving this too much, but it might be just because of the shade. But I do want to continue to have this in my collection just so I can mix it in with other foundations and see how much I like it. But this one was relatively very inexpensive as well. The next foundation is one of the more luminous foundations that I think are stunning on my skin, and it's super affordable. You can find it at Dollar General. This is the Believe Beauty Skin Finish Foundation, and I do have the shade Neutral Tan. This is the component for like $5. So stunning, beautiful on the skin, very medium, buildable to full coverage-esque. Nice on the skin, doesn't feel like you have anything on it. I highly recommend this one. It's not one of my favorites, but this one could be like in my top 10, not gonna lie. The next foundation is a little bit more high-end than all of my other ones. It's the Hourglass Stick Foundation, and I do have the shade Warm Beige. I am almost done with this baby. I'm trying to conserve her as much as I can, but I do love using this foundation when I feel like I don't want to put too much makeup on my face. I put this, a concealer on, put on my brows, mascara, and a lip, and I'm done. This is so easy to use, so easy to spread. A lot of people hate this foundation, so I say for my dry skin, this is actually really dope. It's not a matte finish, it's more of a little luminous and radiant, but so good, and a perfect match on my skin. This shade, Warm Beige, perfect on my skin. The next foundation, I think I'm gonna have to put this in the Declutter one. Initially I wasn't gonna put it in Declutter, but the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation, I got it in the shade Caramel. This is one of the more darker foundations on me. I got it like last summer, and it did match me, but this was too matte for me. I am a dry skin girl and I like matte foundations, but this foundation was too matte for me. It's gonna go in my declutter pile, and it wasn't initially, so we'll see how this continues to go on. But the next one is the Becca Ultimate Coverage Foundation in the shade Driftwood. I did get this in BoxyCharm. I've used it up to here. This foundation's actually pretty stunning. But forewarning, you can go hella excessive on this and look terrible. A little bit goes a long way. I remember like when I started using it, I would use like 3 pumps and my face would crack all over. But if you use like 1.5 pumps, it's more forgiving, way more forgiving. It's really easy to go overboard with this one because it is liquidy and it is full coverage. So warning, but good. A lot of people hate it because they don't know how to use it though. The next foundation stays in my collection because even though I hate it by itself, when I mix it with other foundations, it's such a good foundation. It's the L'Oreal Freshware, and I use the shade 480, but this was all on the rage, like I think 2 years ago, and so I bought like 3 bottles. I finished one of them. This is my second one, and I do have my third one, but it stays in my collection because whenever I mix it in with another foundation, it is such a beautiful finish. So I keep this for that and solely for that. I do not use this on its own because when I use it on its own, it don't look great. The next foundation is the XX Revolution foundation, and I have the shade 10.2. This foundation is a really good match on me. I've used it once. I do want to keep it to keep trying it out. I do not like it too much, but I'm going to continue using it, and I'm going to make a decision on whether or not I want to keep this or not. This is literally on the verge of being decluttered, but not decluttered yet because it's newer and I want to keep trying it. And the next foundation is the Collab Meet Your Matte foundation, and I have the shade Golden. This is a really good match for my skin tone, and it's not that matte, to be honest. It's called Meet Your Matte foundation, but it's not that matte. It's a little bit radiant and it's actually pretty good. However, I will say that the texture of this foundation is not the best. It kind of feels a little bit more on the cream side, which doesn't mix too well with powders. But I keep it in my collection because I do like it a bit. It might be something worth mixing with another foundation that I like. I'm gonna keep thinking about this one. The next foundation I recently did a review on. This is the Covergirl Outlast Extreme Wear 3-in-1 foundation for 24-hour full coverage. Whew, and I got the shade Natural Beige 840. This is She. I hated this foundation during my wear test. I really did. It was terrible. It was about to get decluttered today. However, the other day, I mixed this foundation with this foundation, and they're like a dream team. 2 foundations that I don't like mixed together. Beautiful long wear. It was a pleasant surprise, but for that reason I'm keeping this. The next foundation is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation, and I have the shade 155 R370, and this foundation is actually pretty beautiful on the skin. I hate that I don't use it more often than I do. It's a really good match on my skin, and part of the reason why I like that I'm doing this video is that it gives exposure to like products that I haven't used in a while, because I have been going heavy with my top 6 that I kind of neglect all of the other ones. But this video is really opening my eyes to, oh shit, I gotta use this more before like I gotta declutter it. But this one's actually really good. I like this more than the liquid one. The next foundation is also another one that I don't use too frequently, but I will use when I'm not doing anything important or like going on a date or anything like that. This is not a date foundation. It's the Maybelline Dream Radiant Liquid Foundation, and I have the shade Natural Beige. Natural Beige is going to be popping up a lot. Usually when brands put out a foundation and the shade name is Natural Beige, it works for me. So This one does work for me in terms of shade. However, I think it is also somewhere along the lines of the Scream Queen. These are foundations that I use more like on an everyday basis rather than, you know, special occasions. The next foundation is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Stick Foundation, and I have the shade Classic Beige. This one does match my skin beautifully. However, what I will say is that it is not too long wear. So if you're only gonna have your foundation on for like less than 4 hours, I would say to use this. But if you're gonna go work, you're gonna go on a date, and it's gonna take more than 4 hours, I don't think you should use this foundation, because this ain't long wear at all. It's pretty on the skin, but the prettiness goes away quite quick. The next foundation, I actually forgot how much I like this foundation, and I really want to continue using this and start using it up again. It's the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Foundation, and this is in the shade Pecan. This is actually really good. I don't know why I don't use it too much. Well, I know why I don't use it too much, because I have too many foundations on one face. But it's beautiful. It's full coverage. It's gorgeous. This shade matches me so stunningly. And the one con I have for this one is that you need way more pumps to cover your entire face. The spreadability on this one is very low, and I feel like I have to use 4 or 5 pumps to get my whole face. But it is a good foundation. The next foundation is the LA Colors Truly Matte Foundation. This is a secret weapon, y'all. Secret weapon. You guys can find this at Dollar Tree, and I have the shade Warm Honey. Y'all, this foundation is so underhyped. It is stunning on the face, full coverage, long wear, everything you need in a foundation. And I always forget how much I love this foundation, and then every time I put it on, I'm like, hold the hell up, I look flawless. So this is a flawless foundation, and it's only like $5. So if you don't want to break the bank and you want a good foundation, go yourself to the Dollar Tree and get this. Or Family Dollar. I have a review on this. This broke me out. It's in the shade Fez. I kind of want to declutter it. Yeah, I think I want to declutter this one. This one's going into the declutter. It's the Juvia's Place I Am Magic foundation. This is getting decluttered. The next foundation is the NYX Total Control Cover Drops, and I have the shade Golden. I do not recommend using this by itself, ever. It looks terrible. Terrible by itself, especially for people with dry skin. But if you do have a very light foundation and you want to make it a little bit darker, this one's your girl. And that's why I keep her in my collection and don't declutter her, because I do use it sometimes when I feel like my face is a little bit too light. The next foundation is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Liquid, and I have the shade 127 Y335. I think this one is gonna be decluttered as well, just because it's a sample and I've only used it once. And I don't remember loving it at all, so I think it's gonna go in the declutter pile. It might come out, I don't know, but the other two I'm sure of. This one's also gonna go into the declutter pile because I hated it so much. I'm so happy that I only got a sample. It's the Hourglass Vanish foundation, and I have the shade Beige. This foundation was too matte for me. If I'm saying it's too matte for me, and I love matte foundations as a dry skin girl, it is too matte. This looked disgusting on my skin. I have a review on it, again, in the playlist that's carded up above and also in the description box. The next foundation is the LA Girl Pro Coverage foundation, and this is in the shade Beige. I used to like this foundation, but this was before I found out about other foundations This one makes me look like a greasy mess upon first application. So if y'all remember, I did a whole face full of one whole bottle of foundation. The first one I used was this one because I bought a backup of this. This is my backup of it. After that day, I do not want to see this foundation ever again. So this is getting decluttered. It broke me the frick out, but it also wasn't great to begin with, which is why I chose it for the full like bottle of foundation on my face challenge. The next foundation is the Vitalist Healthy Elixir from Covergirl in Soft Honey when they were not cruelty free. This one is getting decluttered. It's too dark. I didn't love it and it's expired, so it's gonna go away. This one I got in BoxyCharm as well, or Ipsy. I don't remember which one it was, but this is the Pure Lace Perfect Glow BB Cream, and it's in the shade Medium Tan. It's very light coverage. I don't need this in my life. This is getting decluttered. The next foundation. I used to wear this and not even care that I looked like a hot cakey mess. A cakey mess. But I still wore it. It's almost done. No, it's halfway done. But I ain't gonna finish this one. It's the Urban Decay All Nighter in 6.0. I think I just kept this one around for so long because of the packaging and how pretty it looked on my vanity. But it's time to part ways. She's full coverage. She's matte. But she made me look hella bad. And people used to comment on it and I didn't care. The next foundation is like along the same lines as this one. I thought I liked this one. This is the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation in the shade 08. It's a little bit too dark for me. 1, 2, it doesn't last too long. 3, it gets really greasy really quick and I have dry skin, so I don't really understand that. But this is my second bottle. I did finish a whole first bottle, but I don't like the foundation anymore. So it's going to get decluttered. The next foundation is the Ex1 Invisiwear Foundation in the shade F200. For a long time, this one was the only foundation that matched me perfectly. And I think that's why I've kept it in my foundation collection for a while. But I think it's time to part ways. It used to be a great one, but since it came out, a whole bunch of other foundations have swept this out of my mind and out of existence in my brain. So this is also getting decluttered even though I am almost done with it. The next foundation is the Maybelline Fit Me Stick Foundation and it's in the shade 355. This is around the same as the Wet n Wild one. It's pretty for a little bit and I do like to use this in the summer. When I use this, it's when I don't want to have a full face of foundation, so I'll just put it like on different spots of my hyperpigmentation, tap it out with a beauty blender, and head on my merry way to wherever I'm going. So this, when I want my no makeup looks, this is what I use. But the next 6 foundations are just like everything to me. There are ones that withstood time. One of the ones really surprised me because I didn't like it the first time I used it, but now I can't stop using it. So the first foundation, of course, one of my tried and trues, top 6, LA Girl Pro Matte Foundation in the shade Sand. I have used so many bottles of this foundation. At one point, this was the only foundation I was using. It is such a stunning foundation. It's buildable coverage. It's like a medium coverage, but you can definitely build it up to full coverage. Long wear, stunning, like $5. This one's so good, so good. The next foundation I just repurchased again because I needed it back in my life and I have been using it non-stop. Like I used it all week this week except for today and that's it. But it's the Maybelline Superstay Foundation and I have the shade Natural Beige. This foundation I think blows almost all of these foundations out of the water. It's super full coverage. super long wear, gorgeous on the skin. I cannot say any negatives about this foundation. Highly recommend. Maybelline is not cruelty free, so that's an issue with them, but this foundation is so good. And they just came out with a new one called the Activewear Stay Matte, Super Stay, and I bought it, so stay tuned for that review and comparison. The next one is a brand new one in my collection, and I did do a review for it. It's the e.l.f. Camo Cc Cream, and for this one to be in the top, I have the shade Medium 330W, but for this one to be at the top, I didn't expect it to be. I was expecting the worst out of this foundation, and I got one of my favorite foundations ever. It's so pretty and long wear, gorgeous, full coverage on my skin. I know I've seen a lot of oily skin people's reviews on this, and they don't seem to like this foundation, but me, for my dry skin, really likes this foundation. And it's crazy because I had low expectations for this one and love it, and I had super high expectations for this one and I don't love it as much. Another one, I will always go back to her. She's beautiful. L'Oreal True Match. The shade is N6. This one I will never not have in my collection. It's stunning, beautiful, gorgeous finish, long wear. Like, you need to look beautiful all day. Summer, winter, fall, spring, no matter what season, this one's a good one to use. I'm sorry that I burped, but this one always gonna be in the top. The number 2 foundation. And if y'all watch me for the past 2 months, you know this, but the Nars Soft Matte Foundation. I have the shade Aruba. I'm starting to think that it's a little bit too dark for me, but it's so gorgeous on the skin, so long wear. I've worn this like up until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and it still looks so beautiful. This foundation was so hyped up, and I think it deserves all the hype that it got. The next foundation I wanted to talk about last, because I did not expect to love it as much as I do. It's the Wander Beauty Nude Illusion Liquid Foundation in medium. I got this in a BoxyCharm or an Ipsy. I forgot which box had this in it. And the first time I used it, I was like, oh, it's not that special. Then one of my friends here on YouTube, K Bella Beauty, she was like interested in, you know, purchasing the foundation, and I was like, oh, I have it, and we both have dry skin, so I started using it again. And I don't know what it is about this foundation, but the coverage is stunning, gorgeous. It covers everything. Very buildable, very beautiful foundation. It's definitely become one of my favorite foundations in the past month, and it was an honest surprise because I thought I hated it. So there you go, the number 1 spot, my top 6 foundations. And y'all, I'm a little bit proud of myself. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 foundations being decluttered. So I'm proud of myself. But those were all of my foundations in my collection. Let me know if y'all have any of the ones I love or don't love and your opinions on any of them. But yeah, that's all I have for y'all today. Have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.